Hello everyone, welcome to the new lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn about how to make an word and letter counter using React.js and HTML and CSS. So to get started with our project, we have to initialize our project firstly using npm, and it is a node package manager. As we all know, it is used to make initialize our project from command line. So the basic prerequisite of the project, as you have to be familiar with HTML CSS and basic JavaScript only. The topics we will explore in this project are the useState hooks of React, and we will also make CSS designs from scratch, and we will also make whole HTML template from zero, and I will make you know how to make components in React.js and how to manage and how to create functions, and this will be the final result we will be approaching in our project in this series or in this lecture. So head over to the next lesson and get started with our project initialization. Welcome to the next lecture, and before going started to our next lesson, I would like to introduce you what we are going to finally achieve in this project. So this is the very beautiful interface user that we are going to make in this whole project. As you can see, we have a nice text box and three boxes with notifying us about the words, letters and paragraphs we are going to get in counting. Also we have two buttons, that is click to uppercase and click to lowercase. I will show what its function are. Suppose I write anything inside our box. We are learning React. So we are learning React. As you can see, while I am writing, the counter is increasing as its own, and this is the very magic of React. Also the button is click to uppercase, it will just capitalize our written text. Also click to lowercase will get back to its form, and this is what we are going to make. And also we have a preview section. So without wasting any time, let's get towards our next lesson and learn how to initialize our project and make this fine user interface. Hello everyone, welcome to the next lecture. So as I have shown you what we're going to make, so let's get started with our project initialization and the folder structure. So as you can see, I have already initialized my project using the command npx create react tab, and I have make my folder name as word counter. You can make it as you wish, and also as you can see, I have src folder and public folder initialized in my project. So I have already started my server, that is with the npm start. Now we don't have need all those app.test.js and some of these files, so I will just simply delete all those things and get up to you. So after deleting all the unnecessary items, I have left with my with app.css, app.js, index.js, and I have created one component folder which consists of two files, and I will be making this file with you. And I have removed all the unnecessary things from public. Also I have removed from and index.js the import statements for the react vitals and all those things, so they are not necessary at all. We will write our css from scratch, and let me introduce to the new components. I will divide the whole user interface into two parts, one navigation and one counter box, and the navigation will be another component and counter will be the second component. So let's make one component name with navigation, and other component will be like counter.js or counter component.js. So I will make the second component as counter.js. So these are the two components, and I will just initialize my default react scripts RAFCE, as you all know, and also the same thing inside navigation RAFC, and I will just control space and good to go with that. Now let us join these two components inside the app.js. So I will just import the components like this, that is import navigation, and by navigation, and we have the folder name. Also I will import the component as like counter from the. Okay, so we have the two components. Now I will just simply render those components inside this div, that is navigation over here, and with a self-closing tag. And also I will render the counter component like here with, sorry, so I will just render over here, and we have all the things. Now we have just to render something inside this component. So getting started with the navigation component, we just have to bind it in a nav container name class name. I will show you the how to make a css and give the design for the only navigation and for the word counter. So the basic UI is divided into one navigation part and one counter box part, and the navigation only holds a letter and only a sentence word counter, and the box part mainly hold the all UI part with the three boxes that will show us the words, letters, and the paragraphs counting, and the text box to write or paste, and the two buttons as we have shown in my previous tutorial. So now we will just learn from the navigation. I have bounded it with an h2 tag. Let me go through the css. Firstly, I will give the body css. I will give the body a gradient. I will give a linear. First I have to write a background, and the not background color minded that we have to just make a linear gradient, and I will give a 110 degree, and the first color code will hold there as DDD6F3. The second color code will be hash FAACA8. So these are the two color codes. Let us see if it is working finely in the front end. Okay, so it's looking good now. And now we have to just give the navigation bar css. So I will get the nav container, and in the nav container I will give it a css as text align center firstly, so that our text word counter align center, and it will have no background color. Obviously it is transparent, and I will give a padding of 30 pixel from top and 10 pixel from bottom, and from right and left it will be 0 and 0. Okay, we are good to go with that. We also need to give some css to the h2 also, that is the text. I will give it a color firstly, so let me give it a color. So the color code, don't worry about the css, I will share you the whole css code to with you. For the color code of the text, that is hash 6a3b58. Now this is the color, and I will give it a font size of, let's say, 30 pixel. 30 pixel will be enough, and it is about a font family, like I will give cursive so that it will give a logo feel more, and also letter spacing that will give it is a proper heading kind of thing to 2 pixel. Let us see into the browser. It is working. Okay, so it's looking good now. Let's head towards our next lecture, and we'll show how to make the component of the counter box, and we'll make the UI complete over there. To make the UI get completed, and for the counter box we'll get started with making some divs. So to make some divs, firstly we have to make the body with some changes. So before that, let me introduce to the divs we are going to make. So I will just give it a proper layout over here. Okay, I will just do one thing, that is I will give a first bracket over here so that we can properly manage it inside our component. I will simply give it enter, and I will simply format the document over here. Now we are good to go with that. The first div, we are going to have a class name as counter container, let's say. So this will the whole container of our main counter, and it will then contain a second div which will have a class name also, and that will contain our first box, the row of the first box. So let's say this will the numbers holder, or the numbers of the first box also. So the class name for this will be, let's say, numbers and then holder, and then it will again contain another div that will be the counts. In the each counts there will be, so I will know, rather than giving the counts as a div, I will give it a paragraph, and the paragraph will hold a class name of count. Now after this counter we will have this counter box thrice, and first of all will the words, and then the letters, and then the paragraphs, and let to get towards the text box. After that, the text box div will contain a text area with the class name text area, and I have given the class name for the div as text box. And then we will have button class name button box that will hold the two buttons, that is click to uppercase and click to lowercase. And then we will have a preview section which will just simply preview our text. So let me save this, and we haven't applied our css yet, so I will apply the css and show you how it looks like. Now to get started with the css, we have to first apply a proper width and height to our body so that the display cannot get outside of our screen. So I will make it a width of 100 vw, that is the view width, and it will consider the screen size as it full width, so that our maximum screen doesn't get outside of the web page. Okay, now we have to give it a justify content center so that all the contents are aligned within a x and y direction, that is in the origin, and we will give it an overflow of x as hidden so that the screen doesn't scroll in left or right sections. Also, we have already given the background color, and we will have also align item center so that all the items I will be giving, that is a text box and the text area, will be in the center. We are done with the body part. Now we are going to give css to our counter. Now for the counter container, I will copy the counter container part class and I will make css for it. I will give design to it. I will just assign it, and the css for the counter container will be as simple as padding. I will give for at least 22 pixel, let's say, and I will give it a border radius also so that it looks light, and the background color with the pinkish, and I will give it a border radius firstly of like 22 pixel, and it will be proper rounded, it will look good. I will give it 22 pixel, 22 rather than 22 will be more rounded. I will give 12 pixel then, and I will give it a margin of say 20 pixel, 20 pixel, and auto so that it align in the center. So auto margin will align into left and right center. And I will make the counter container with a width of 80% so that it doesn't get the edge to edge of the screen. Now for the numbers holder, that is each boxes I will be holding there, I will give it a display as a flex so that it will be in the direction of row, and I will give it a flex, and the flex direction doesn't need, actually you can give it a row, or by default it will be a row. And I can content as justify content over space around so that all the boxes be in around it with a space, and it will be in a proper manner in the browser. So let me just put a anything inside content inside this paragraph. Okay, there will be one more paragraph which will contain the word text, that is it will be a words or letters or paragraphs. I will give some more number holders over here. I will just put it like, okay, I also forgot to put it this thing inside a div so that I can clone it as much as I can. So I will give it a class name as counter boxes, or I can give it a like counter box only, and this thing will hold two paragraphs, and these two paragraphs will let us notify about how much word or how much text we have typed in. So I will copy this thing thrice, that is there will be three boxes, this is the second, this is the three, and I will give the counter box, let's say I will give the counter box a simple css so that I can, as for say I will give it a background color of anything like, just a second, I have pasted all the thing over here. I just need this counter box and nothing else, so I will give the css only to this counter box. And for the counter box we'll just say give it a background color of anything, for say this green, and we will see in the, okay, we have this box is aligned perfectly. Now we just have to give it a proper way of background and text box shadow also. Now for the css, I have already pasted all my css with this so that I don't get any time or waste any time and applying this thing. As you are already familiar with these things, I will provide the css inside the code lecture, and let's get towards our result. Okay, so it's now looking very beautiful with the user interference. Now we just have to put the dynamic words, letters and paragraphs over there. So let's see how can we put that using useState hooks. So let's get started to our counter component, and here we can just simply change these things to like letters, and also this will be the paragraphs, and this thing will be dynamic. So let me check for the use state, and I will just import one use state hook. So to import use state, you just have to like this, and inside our function I will give it a constant name as suppose say text, and this text will be a function that to manage the text I will give the set text, and the use state will be by default I will announce for say I will write here use state, and this use state for the text will by default be blank, so that when the user enter will be catch in this use state. Now we have to make a function so that if anyone type inside this text area, that function will just put that copied or that pasted or that type thing inside our text variable. So we just have to give it a function like, first we have to give it a value that is the text, that is the blank thing, the firstly, and it is also have a placeholder by default, and then and on change we can introduce it to a function or call a function directly. The for function I can like e, then e will hold all the information written inside this text area, and inside this e I will have to capture the value and set it in the text. So I will give the set text function over here, and inside this set text I will pass what I have been written. So e dot target dot value will just capture all the things written inside here, and it will be given towards our set text. Now we can test this using this preview section. I will just give here the text thing, and let us give it a test run if it is running well or not. So I will just write anything over here, and you can see it is showing here, so that we are getting the proper result. And I will just write anything over here, it is showing properly. Now we have to count the words and letters over here, and we can show that. Now to count the letters, firstly we just have to do nothing, just simple thing, that is we have to give the length of the text, right? So to give the text length, we have just to write that text dot length, which will give all the counts of the letters. So let me just do anything. I will, you can see as I am going to write, it will just give me the count of the letters. And for the words we have to do one thing, that is we have to count the letters but with splitting the spaces. Now I am counting the lengths, but we have to first split. So I will just do one thing, I will just split it, and what I have to split all the gaps. So I will split into the gaps and I will count those lengths. Now we can count the words. Now I will just give it a blank, and initially we were getting nothing. We have to be 0 words over here. So let me refresh everything, and as you can see initially we have 0 letters but 1 word. So this is a mistake you should not make. So we can give here a condition, unless the text dot length is greater than 0, and it's a if condition, we will show the length, and else it will show as null. Now here we can see nothing inside our component over here. Now as you can see it's gone. Now as because we haven't printed inside or typed anything inside the text box, it will show nothing. Now once I typed anything and I am giving words, it's counting the words as well as the letters. Now for the paragraphs and the button part I will show you in the next lecture, so without wasting any time, let's head toward it. Now in this lesson, to get started with our buttons and the paragraphs, as you can see I have already made it the paragraph code. So this is nothing but the regex, that is So this is nothing but the regex I have used, that is regular expressions, and this regular expression is doing only the, it is searching for the r slash r and slash n, that is either it has a line or it is a next line enter, or as you can see the slash r or slash n comments for the next line. So it will just split into the to the whole text, and it will find if there is a next line, and it will give us that length. So if it is one line text, it will print one, and if it's two line text, it will print two. So that is only our paragraph refers to. And for the letters length, I have already shown you. So we can give it a condition over here, that is unless it's 0 greater than 0, that length it might show nothing, and then else it show a null. But inside this length, you must have noticed one thing, that is if I show you inside the browser that if I give it a space, the letters will also count, but that is not should be the issue, right? So what we can do is that we can just split this text firstly. So we can just split this text in firstly with a gap, and then again join the text without any gap. So what it will do, it will just not count the spaces to give to functional to our two buttons. So to give function to our two buttons, we have to complete, or we have to call these two things, that is uppercase and lowercase. This is the two function what is doing, that is on calling the uppercase, it will just set the text to local uppercase and to local lowercase. So this is the normal thing the text will do. Now I will just simply call this uppercase on click in the button. So we will head towards our button, and we will give it is a on click function and nothing else. So inside button you can simply type on click, and on might, and inside button you can simply type on click and give the uppercase function announce here. Don't call it right away, otherwise without click the function may call inside. And the second button we will also ensure the on click, and we'll give the lowercase function over here. So now we will just check if we have pasted the right thing, the uppercase and the lowercase function name. Okay, so it is right. Oh, we have to make the C capitalize. Okay, so it is already there. Now let's check into the browser if we like we are learning React, so we can just make it uppercase. Okay, it's working, and make it lowercase. Okay, so you can see the preview is working and everything working properly. Now we can give some emojis over here to design, and we can good to go with the result. I will provide the whole code inside the code lecture, and thank you for learning with me.